Yesterday, Pixar Soul was dropped on Disney+, so it's time to rank all 23 Pixar movies from the worst to the best. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Gabriel and I love to rank movies. If you can relate, consider hitting that subscribe button. And know that this list is just my opinion. And I would love to see yours down in the comment section. And please know that this list is very controversial. In fact, I'm going to have a controversial counter up in the corner because this list is so controversial. I'm going to count how many times I say the word controversial because, I'm gonna get a lot of people mad at me for this one. Kicking off the controversial train in last place is WALL-E. I really dislike this film. It is extremely boring, and while the animation is impressive, I just did not get into it at all. Everyone always highly praises it, but to me, it's just a bland film that I have no interest in watching again. I don't get why people love it. It's hard for me to like something that shows no emotion and nothing to connect with, all while using visual storytelling, which is not my favorite. The characters are bland, and it failed to keep me interested after half an hour. There are some nice scenes, but this is pretty easily my least favorite Pixar movie, which again is very controversial. Another controversial pick coming your way with Monsters, Inc. being in 22nd place. The idea of this film is incredibly interesting and creative, but how they delivered it just didn't interest me. It was a bit boring like the film I previously talked about, but it was definitely funny. There was a long-running joke in the film that I'm not going to spoil for you if you haven't seen it, that was hilarious that got me every time. But what makes it lower on the list is the many forgettable side characters that I'm going to be honest and say that when I recently rewatched this film, I had no idea they were in it, and then forgot about them the day after I watched it. The cast is great and the animation is okay, but this film is sadly getting in next to last place, one of my many controversial opinions in this video. Coming in 21st place is Brave. I do think that this movie is good, but for me, it is the least Pixar-like of the Pixar films. It does not feel like a Pixar film because lots of aspects of film Pixar is known for aren't here. I don't really like the setting of this film either. For what this film is going for, Scotland seems like the right place, but all the witches and spells are not my favorite. It's a lot like the DreamWorks film How to Train Your Dragon, but definitely not as good. This is a movie that I can get a good laugh out of, and it actually has some really good action scenes, but this is just a bland film. As a standalone film, this would be a pretty good film, but compared to the other Pixar films, it falls flat. Most people are okay with Brave being in 21st place, but coming up next is Finding Nemo, maybe being the most controversial pick on this list yet. Just to be clear, there is a mile-long gap between Brave and this film, but this is still such a controversial opinion that I'm still going to get a lot of hate for putting this film in 20th place. This film came out in 2003, so I can't even say it has good animation, just subpar. It's not anywhere close to bad, but Pixar has better in my opinion. The arc of the characters was unique, however, and the color palette was bright and drew my attention. They hit the emotional notes perfectly, having a really sad first scene, which kept me hooked. I can't say that I've seen this film a number of times, and each time I've enjoyed it. It's just okay, pretty boring, and could have been better in my opinion. Next up in 19th place is Ratatouille. Obviously, to me, this isn't among the best films Pixar has made, but it's inventive and beautifully animated. But once again, what makes this film lower is how it drags at times. It gets kind of boring, but it's good enough to watch. The jokes aren't very memorable, and as of now, this is literally unscripted. I can't remember the main human character's name. If anything, like Brave, it doesn't feel as much like a Pixar film, but it's still good, which shows how great of a studio Pixar is because they made 23 movies, and I enjoy 22 of them for the most part. Then in 18th place, I have The Good Dinosaur. Although this film isn't in last place, which is where some people have it, which gives me another controversial opinion, this is easily the most forgettable Pixar movie. About halfway through, it can be pretty boring, but it can be exciting at times. The film teaches a great lesson, like most Pixar films, in teaching young kids it's okay to be scared. There are many moments in this film that are very emotional and sad, one thing that Pixar does very well. While this film is certainly not flawless, it is still a film that I had a good time with. 17th place goes to A Bug's Life. The main problem for a lot of people about this film is that the animation and visuals are probably the worst out of every Pixar film, but it came out in 1998 and it was only their second film, so I don't really blame them. The color scheme is dull and it doesn't attract my attention as much as some others on this list, but this film is highly entertaining and has, in my opinion, one of the best climaxes in a Pixar film. The jokes land even though this is a very forgettable film, and it comes in 17th place. Number 16 is Cars. Now, this is a good movie, but every time I've watched it, I've thought that it was really boring. It's an hour and 57 minutes, and I think it could have been about 20 minutes shorter. It has memorable jokes and characters, but this is just a really bland Pixar film that doesn't bring some things to the table that other Pixar movies do. The animation is great, and the concept is unique, and this is controversial, but it is my least favorite out of the Cars movies. Then, in 15th place, I have Toy Story. Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of haters for this one. Earlier I said my most controversial opinion was about Finding Nemo, but nah, the controversial opinion award goes to this one. Yes, I agree, the story, characters, and cast are fantastic, but the animation is not very good, and the pacing is very slow. People say that Sid is a great villain, but I find him annoying and overrated. It lacks emotional themes and gut punches that its sequels pull off amazingly, but even though I have problems with it, it is still a great film and possibly one of the best franchises of all time, which once again shows how great of a studio Pixar is. Next up in 14th place is Coco. This is such a beautifully animated film with an intriguing premise and a decent twist. The twist was unexpected, but I don't really think the movie needed it. The music is nice and the characters are interesting. I've seen this movie many times, so I might be a bit biased about it, but every time I've enjoyed it to a certain extent. Number 13 is Cars 2. Tired of my controversial opinions? Too bad. I gotta be honest and say that I like this film. Go ahead and dislike the video now if you want. I know a lot of people hate this film, but I can't help myself enjoy it. Sure, the fart jokes aren't funny, and this is a really messy film, but it's really enjoyable. The action is good, and the cast and characters are great. The many subplots aren't very good and can get confusing, but this film is entertaining enough. Next up in 12th place is Up. I'm with a lot of people about this film, saying that the first 10 minutes are excellent, and then the rest of the film is just good, but not fantastic. How they set up the conflict of the story and the villain is not good in my opinion, having the twist not make any sense to me. But the rest of the characters are very likable. Carl and Russell are fun, and Doug is a cute and funny character. This film is really funny, and the final battle is hilarious, being more funny than suspenseful, which fits in nice with the film. A lot of people love this film, but I think it's a bit overrated, which might be controversial depending on how you look at this film, even though it was really well made. Number 11, Finding Dory. Something that this film does, in my opinion, that not many films can do is actually accomplish being a good side character story. This is controversial, but I think this film somehow is better than Finding Nemo by exploring the character of Dory in ways that can both be emotional and hilarious. The jokes in this film are really funny, and Pixar gives us another magnificent message in you can do anything you want to if you put your mind to it. Kicking off the top 10 is Cars 3. Now, this film has lots to like about it, but it isn't Pixar's most thought out and planned film. It was a good finale to the Cars franchise, but I can't get over how predictable it was. You could easily tell what was going to happen, and when Lightning McQueen made a huge decision, it didn't pay off nearly as good as it should have. But that's pretty much the only problem with it, in my opinion. Like most Pixar films, the animation is beautiful, and the jokes land, and to me, it's just barely in the top 10 Pixar movies. Number 9 is Toy Story 2. I actually think one of the best things about Pixar is that they can actually make sequels that are better than the original, but that's only to me because I know lots of people will strongly disagree with that, which gives me another controversial opinion. I'm gonna be honest, I used to not like this movie, but it just grew on me. It gives us Star Wars references, a great opening scene, and make sure to tell me your thoughts on the upcoming Lightyear movie, but this is just a wonderful film. It gives us more amazing toys that have become very iconic iconic over time and an unexpected twist. It tells us some of Woody's backstory in an interesting way, and this is a movie with a solid plot that offers laughs for all ages and Star Wars fans. Number 8 is the new film Soul. This is a great movie. It subverted my expectations in a good way, with the trailer not fully showing what the movie would be like. The animation in this film is mind-blowing, every shot of the film having breathtaking visuals. They captured the aesthetic of New York City in every way with great attention to detail. The music in this film is amazing, and you can bet I'll be listening to the soundtrack for a while. Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey are absolutely amazing, and the story is unique and charming, just like Inside Out. And then you get to the jokes, which actually gave genuine laughs that were smart and hilarious that made me laugh out loud. There was an odd twist, which kept it from being higher on the list, but the way they go back and forth from the New York City landscape to the Soul world just kept me interested, and this is just a great Pixar film, just not top-tier material. Number 7 is Toy Story 4. I might like this film only because I saw it in a grand and huge theater with so many lights that was absolutely beautiful, or the fact that Toy Story 3 is my second favorite film and I just forced myself to like this film, but I think this is actually a great film. Adding Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele to the mix also made this film one of the funniest films to come out of Pixar. The emotional payoff at the end was nice and actually made me cry the first time watching it, and bringing back Bo Peep was a good choice because they never fully told us how she disappeared in Toy Story 3. So overall, I think this is a great film. Number 6 is The Incredibles. This is such an awesome Pixar movie, and just a normal movie in general. Everything about this movie flows smoothly, from the villain's motivation to the big action sequences that keep you wanting more after the credits roll. The voice acting is superb, and it has such an original and profound plot with a variety of great themes. Kicking off the top 5 is Onward. I know many people were left disappointed by this film, so having this in the top 5 Pixar movies is pretty controversial. This is arguably Pixar's most underappreciated film, in no way lacking emotional moments. This film does a great job of showing how Ian struggles with the loss of his father, and every character in some shape or form is relatable. This film can get suspenseful with the bar set high with the right amount of tension. Chris Pratt is hilarious, and Tom Holland is a very good actor that can have the right tone of voice at the right time, which makes you think the movie is actually happening in real life. Number 4 is Monsters University. This film is super underrated. The animation is, as always, spectacular, and I love seeing Mike and Sully's character development and how they first met. I think this, Toy Story 4, and Soul are the funniest Pixar movies because this film has some truly hilarious scenes. I know the studio might have played it too safe with this film, but to me, this is a great prequel I will always love. Winning the bronze medal is Inside Out. It seems like every time I watch this movie, it gets better and better. Every aspect of it is so original, so distinctive that only Pixar could pull it off. It manages to touch on heavy and mature themes, while at the same time attract kids and be funny. It's truly one of the best animated films ever made, just not as good as the top 2 movies, even though I love this movie. My runner-up is Incredibles 2. I know a lot of people don't agree with me about this film, so this is kind of controversial, but I think this is one of the few sequels that actually surpasses their predecessor. The action sequences in this film were outstanding, and this film has beautiful and realistic animation like most of Pixar's films. We had to wait 14 years for this film to come out, and it is a worthy sequel in my opinion, which every scene is just as entertaining as in the first film, if not more. So for me, Incredibles 2 is truly incredible. But number 1 is Toy Story 3. Like I mentioned earlier, this is my second favorite film of all time for obvious reasons. Not one joke fell flat, not one character was uninteresting, and not one cast member didn't perform every line perfectly. Lotso is a great villain that has a backstory that is understandable. The way he acts makes you dislike him, but in a good way. The ending is so sad, it made me cry as a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old. Pixar cared so much about getting the ending right, they made me cry as a 4-year-old, which is highly impressive. Everything about this film is perfect, and no scene wasn't enjoyable, and for me, it comes in first place.
Bruh.
Hi guys, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video. But with that said, stay tuned and subscribe to Cinema